honest about what's going on in the state of Illinois, especially with regards to our complete and utter failure as conservatives to move the needle. And we've got to, and so part of me thinks, this is sort of it's very messy, it's very ugly, and it's very shameful that these different people, including my own son, are attacking each other. And it does get to the point of being juvenile because they're talking about silly, crazy things sometimes. But whether it's juvenile or not, part of it is, this is what disruption looks like when, the status quo is completely broken. And for that to change, it's not going to change with the status quo smiling. They're going to kick and they're going to scream and they're going to make up stories and they're going to attack the people that they're afraid of. And so that's going on. So all that's to say that, like you say, he's my son. I love him. I will never not love him. Is he right 100% of the time? Nobody is. Like God is. Nobody's right 100% of the time, but he is right some of the time. But the toxic business where people are just calling each other names and trying to hurt each other personally, I think that's just wrong across the board. But it's not just Max. It goes both directions and all different directions. And this week is a great example of it. Like I said, with Tom DeVore and Dan Proft and Jeannie Ives, and how are they any different from M or Terry or Max? It's kind of the same thing. They're just all arguing and they don't trust each other, and we're not going to agree on everything, like you say, but frankly, we agree on most things. So I would like, and by the way, you're talking to a guy that sent Don Tracy a letter, actually all the GOP leadership, before I knew how weak and feckless they really were. I offered to pay for, they're called they're like psychologists. They're like people that are involved with conflict resolution, just to try to get all these different people together in the room and hash out what we agree on and hash out what we disagree on, but put a map together, because we all agree we must start winning elections to change policy, because people make policy. And if we don't, we're going to have Pritzker and Johnson and these evil communist progressive types completely controlling our lives. So can't we just hold our nose? And if we don't like somebody's background, or you're pro-life or I'm pro-life and you're pro-choice, who cares? The bigger picture is, let's figure a way to work together at least a little bit, or let's at least try not to tear each other down and try to win some elections. So I'm just, for myself, I've got blinders on a little bit, I'll admit. I'm focused on winning elections, because if we aren't going to win some elections, none of that stuff matters. We're going to be living in China or Russia. I'm going to be, me, or probably you too, we're going to be in a what do they call it? A re-education camp. These people are freaking nuts. I went by the No Kings thing. We've got nut jobs running our state, and they're completely in control. And we're fighting over some of these issues. I don't even know I have no idea what Max and you got in a spat over, but they're like small little petty things. We need to get over that and try to figure a way to work, at least not work against each other. And if we could work together. That would be much, much better, and try to turn some of these things around.
All right. Thanks, Mark. Thanks for addressing it. And I appreciate you being open about it. This is going to be the last question of this topic, and then we'll move on. And
like I said, nothing's sacred. You can ask me anything, my family.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you being candid about it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, 100%.
And the last question that I have is that I think he was helping you with your campaign, or was at least involved in it last time. And from what I've heard and talked to some of the people that I trust and I'm close to, there are people not too happy about it, or it, set off people, some of the people at least, right? So is he going to be involved?
That's another rumor. That's really
okay. So that and that's fine. And if it's not true, then you can address that. And my question
he's my son, so he'll give me advice, or he'll, just like you.
Okay,
so that was
advice. Right. So that was my question. That will he be involved in your current campaign?
No,
and the answer
is he really hasn't been. And he writes this blog, which I'm sure you know about, the Illinois Record, and it's. You can't. That can't be a part of. That's not my campaign. That's what he does, and I get. For him, it's a calling. I think it's from his heart, and I can't stop him from doing it. But it certainly has nothing to do with my campaign or my wanting to win an election. And his agenda is probably similar to all of ours. I mean, we all want to sort of right this ship, which is sinking. And part of it is calling out the evil Democrats and what they're doing. Okay, taxes are way too high, obviously. The whole, I mean, I don't want to go through it all on everything, the schools, the gender, the DEI, on everything. Things are upside down. They're completely against where we know as conservative people things need to be. But it's actually a good conversation. We could even have it here. Does that mean that we should, if we're in a dysfunctional family, should we just sweep that under the rug and just pretend like it doesn't exist and try to win even with some of that cancer and dysfunction? Or should we address it even in our own party? And I don't know exactly how to address it. Like I said, I was for, having professionals try to help with that. But, where people are against each other, and at least try to minimize that so that we can work together to win, that's probably just as important as identifying all the evil and all this terribleness that the Democrats are foisting onto all of us, and addressing that. Because I talked to Ted Dabrowski. He's a friend. I know you had him on. And, I've talked to him way before he was involved in governor. We talk about that like on policy, we win. These are 80-20 issues, and we could talk about them. I think it's kind of boring, but we can talk about the failing schools and what they did to us during COVID, and just all these obvious terrible things that even Democrats agree with us on. And by the way, I spoke before about, there's 14 Democrats in U.S. Congress out of 17. So, Boss, Miller, and LaHood are the only 3 Republicans. 3 out of 17 is 18%. And we voted for Trump 45%. And everybody says, oh, well, gerrymandering is terrible. You can look at the other states like California, New York, and other blue states. We're worse than almost anybody in the country. And I would submit it's not just the headwind of the Democrats, cheating or Pritzker's money or the gerrymandering. I mean, all of that is certainly true. But we are batting so far below our weight, that I think that we do have to, do a little bit of looking in the mirror and figuring out what we can do to try to actually start putting some wins on the board. And by the way, if we went from 3 seats to 6 seats, that would be amazing. But we'd still only be 6 out of 17, and that would be, what would that be? That'd be 36%. But we'd still be 10 points below where we should be. So that's why my son, I guess Max, thinks he wants to address that and the Democrats, and he writes articles and he gets in fights with people and all that. That's him. That's not me. My thing is, I'd like to lead by example, win some elections, show people the reason why we lose elections, because it's not just that we have inter-party fighting or that we have no resources, that all so many good people are leaving the state, moving to Florida and Tennessee and Texas, and leading the country in out-migration and all that. It's not just that. It's that we have chosen to bury our heads in the sand and not get with modern electioneering and like they are in other states, even blue states, to at least win the races that we should be able to win. And that's terribly frustrating to me as somebody who's just logical and a business guy. I'm a self-made entrepreneur. I'm pretty successful. I know how to turn things around. I've gone into situations where they were pretty bleak and at kind of a low point. And you've got to identify what the problems are. And clearly some of that stuff that Max writes about in that Illinois record, or that you guys probably talk about, or that Jeannie Ives and DeVore and so forth, that they're all arguing about, these are real things. And I think it's probably best that we don't just sweep it under the rug, ignore it, and do the same old thing. I think we need to change some of this. And so talking about the ugly truth, but then having a plan to do something about it, I think is what is needed. And like I said, I talked to Ted, I talked to Darren, I was with at that dinner on Monday night, and I was with Mendrick. I mean, it's a small world. We all know each other. And I'm so sick of people just talking about the same old crap that loses us elections every time. It's the same thing. And that is the definition of insanity. And I'm the only guy yelling and screaming, look, guys, look at what Trump said to do. Look at what Cliff Maloney said to do. Look what they did in Pennsylvania. Look what they did in Michigan. Look what they did in these other places. Why don't we do that? It's clear that it works now. Maybe 3 years ago you say, well, that will never work. But we have the receipts. It works. And why is it me? Marty McLaughlin's kind of with me. And I mean, I've got some other people, but in general, I'm really the only guy in the state yelling and screaming about this stuff. And that's why frustrating, because we all want to win.
Right. Well, thanks for answering the questions. I'm going to go to Carla on this topic, and I think, Carla, you'd like to voice in on this, so go ahead.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me up, and thanks, Mark. I have two main goals that I can. The first one is rebuilding the party from the precinct committeeman level up, the PCs, getting those PCs filled. Right now, we have a vacancy that's just ridiculous, and I'm sure you know that. But the second one is restoring election integrity. I'm really passionate about election integrity, and you've mentioned that you support and actively participate in ballot harvesting, and you, from what it sounds like, you believe that's the only way forward. But I don't know if everyone on this call understands what ballot harvesting actually entails.
Exactly.
But I'd like for you to explain how you go about doing ballot harvesting.
Love it. I love that. Is your name's Carla?
Yes.
Carla, thank you so much. That's great to hear. So let's talk about that. First of all, on the I agree. It would be great if we could build a robust system of PCs for every precinct in the whole state. But my district's in DuPage, Kane, and Cook, and those they're whole townships with like say 70 precincts, and there isn't even one precinct captain, not one, or there's not even a committee man. No budget, no meetings, no organization, no nothing. One of mine is Addison. Addison just fell apart. Maine Township actually used to have people. It's sort of fallen apart, although they're trying to rebuild that. It's gotten so bad that I think it's incumbent upon candidates. Now, I'm not talking about downstate, south of I-80. I'm talking about, Chicagoland area where there really is no party. I mean, let's face it. But I'm all for doing that, but it's not going to happen by a year from November. It's going to take a long time, and it's got to be built, like you make a watch, one piece at a time. And I'm all for helping that. Now, I love what you asked me about ballot harvesting, because this is where I think we all, once you understand what it is, you can understand why I really don't even care about. I mean, I care. I would love to have every precinct with a precinct captain, and I would love to have a committee man for every township or every area, every county, etc. But it's just not in the cards, at least not today. We need to try to build that. I would submit to you, if we start winning elections, and these people who put up their time and treasure to try to turn this thing around, and they get, excuse me, but shit on. I mean, we lose, and they put all this money and time in, they have nothing to show for it. They tend to give up. So that's what we're dealing with. There's a lot of apathy and a lot of people leaving, and the way to turn that around is to win. So now, how do we win? So ballot harvesting is really not something that the party can do. And they talk about it because it's a nice buzzword. And so Kathy Salvi will put out some nice emails, making it sound like she knows what ballot harvesting is, and they're going to do it. Remember last year they had their gala was the Bake the Vote gala. I mean, come on, it was a complete joke. The money, any money that they netted out of that, the part that went for what they would call banking the vote had nothing to do with ballot harvesting. It was sending out some emails to people and maybe some letters. I actually heard where the money went, and I wanted to vomit in my mouth, so I don't know if I heard the whole thing. But what ballot harvesting is, it's not what the party would ever do. It's hiring full-time employees to work 6 days a week, even sometimes 7 days a week. Typically, those employees are assigned anywhere from 10 to 20 precincts, and they identify in each precinct anywhere from, say, 50 to 100 of those persuadable, low propensity voters. And you just need the data for that. And we all have access to the data, both the consumer data and the voting data. So once you have that list of people who aren't going to vote at all, not by mail and not in person, if we can persuade those voters to vote by making it really easy to vote, if we can't, give them a ride to the polls, we can actually just drive to their house and pick up their ballot by having them register to vote by mail, then we'll get 50 to 100 extra votes per precinct. But to do that, as you guys know, because I think a lot of you guys on this, I'm sensing, are pretty actively involved in electioneering, is it just takes a lot of work. So we're talking about texting them, calling them, mailing them, that's all, and emailing them. That's obviously very expensive. And then ultimately door knocking them, setting an appointment, not just randomly going on a nice Saturday or something, but making sure that we actually meet with these people. You first have to persuade them to sign the vote by mail form. And these are people that are Republicans. So we know they're going to vote Republican. They don't need to know my name or anybody's name. They just need to know that we lose elections because they don't vote. And you make them feel a little bit guilty about it and make it really simple and easy for them to change that by signing the vote by mail form. A little different, but but at the end of the day, they sign the form. We actually turn that form in, so we make sure that they get it. And then when they in turn receive the vote by mail ballot, and it comes in the mail, and we'll know when that is from each county because they have to report that by law. The same person, not a different person, the same person goes back out and collects that ballot and persuades that voter to vote. But they don't even have to leave their couch. All they have to do is fill it out. We know they're going to vote Republican. We're going to encourage them to vote Republican as well. And we're going to collect that ballot, and then we're going to physically hand it in. We're not going to mail it in the mail, trusting USPS. And if the successful ballot, I'm giving out too much information, by the way, because I'm telling you the real numbers. This is what the Democrats do, and this is what Trump did. And frankly, I have a primary, so I don't really want my primary opponents to necessarily know the secret sauce. But anyway, they probably won't be on here. So I may not give you. Call me after this if you want the real complete details. But
no, I appreciate your response. I just have some pushback on it because.
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, I think you're persuading more sounds like bullying. And I really have a difficult time with that. Because I feel going back and just going back and back and back with these people.
Wait, help me with that. Why is that bullying to tell somebody, we have your voting record, we know you don't vote, you haven't voted in 6 years, but you used to, we'd like you to vote. Why is that bullying?
Because you keep going back constantly. You don't just accept.
Well, it's sales. It's. Do you know in sales what point of contact you need to have? How many points of contact? It's 8.
Selling a ballot. That's my point. I'm not selling a ballot. But
you really are. You're selling the opportunity to vote to people that don't vote.
But besides that, once a ballot leaves the voters' hands, that you guys are bullying them to get over, and it's how does that not break the chain of custody?
Because it's legal. Now, by the way, I'm against it from a moral standpoint. I think it's terrible. I don't think we should have that in the state of Illinois. But we're always going to have it unless we start winning some elections and get some conservatives in there.
But how are you going to win elections by participating in something we know is full of fraud?
Now nothing that I suggested had any bit of fraud. Now, I'll admit there are people that forge.
Mail is fraud. That's what you're saying. You don't believe that vote by mail or this ballot harvesting has any fraudulent.
No, I do. I think that Democrats do that. I think Republicans, we just don't even engage. So we do very little. Look, I won my election. Help me with this. Okay, I won my election against Raza with $8 million and 10 years of name recognition. Anybody that voted in person, I won the in-person vote on the day of election. I won the in-person vote in early voting, but I lost the mail-in vote 5-1. I got 20% to 80%. So I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but that shows me that unless we can improve that category, we will continue to lose.
But
And I don't like the rules that they are the way they are, but they are. So if we don't take advantage of it, we're just playing into the Democrats' hands. They'll continue to eat our lunch.
But that's what I'm afraid of, is because we are playing into the Democrats' hands. Because if just because the Democrats do it doesn't make it right. It doesn't.
So let me give this analogy. I want to push back on you. So the NFL used to be you scored a touchdown and you get 6 points. And then they put up goalposts. And they said you can kick it after and get an extra point. And you can also kick field goals and get 3 points. And there were a lot of purists of football said, that's terrible. You've changed the rules. And so they could just say, well, you can do that, but we're not going to do that because we like the way that it should be, or we like the way it used to be. And that's fine, but they will lose forever.
But what happens? So if the Democrats deflate the ball a little bit to help it get over, whatever football analogy you want to use, I'm not a football player, but I know there's ways to cheat in football. So if they just do that, well, we need to do that because they get away with it.
But I'm not talking about cheating at all.
Chain of custody, and when you break the chain of custody, you're breaking the trust in our ballot.
Okay, so listen, I want you to know and everybody to know. So United Sovereigns of America is supposed to have a lawsuit actually with me as the defendant and Trump actually helping to pay the legal bill to sue for election integrity on my own race. So I'm completely aligned with you that we don't want cheating, right? But I'm
see the people spend their resources on helping build the Republican Party back up instead of trying to do everything the Democrats do. Our Republican Party is completely broken because there's no resources being spent on developing precinct committeemen. It's broken that way because
but I explained to you how I won, in Kane County, all us Republican candidates, we all won the in-person vote. We all lost the vote by mail, and we all lost overall. Okay, so we could continue to do the same thing, but we're going to continue to lose unless we change we'll win, actually. If we just do the same thing, we can win the in-person vote, but we can't win the vote by mail category unless we get those people. And let me tell you, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of Republicans or conservatives that have apathy. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it. My vote doesn't count.
Because there's no one in their neighborhood that's represented in the Republican Party to get out and encourage them to vote. It's broken. And
no, I agree that we don't have that effort, but that effort isn't enough. What the Democrats do.
No effort. Is your precinct full?
No, actually, no. There's mine's Aaron Del Mar's. There's nothing. There's nobody doing anything.
Why wait on Del Mar? Why isn't your precinct committeeman full?
Because I'm explaining to you that the way that we lose is that the Democrats are out there ballot harvesting, and we're saying ballot harvesting has or could have a lot of fraud. So let's just not do it. Let's let them do it because we're better than them. We're more moral than they are, and let them win all these elections. And people like me that are actually true conservatives and want to make a difference, we're never going to have a chance to get in there and change the laws, including voter integrity look, I would like to have no vote by mail. I'd like to have same-day voting and paper ballots, get rid of the machines.
Well, what do you do to try to make that happen?
You have to win first. That's what I'm trying to show you. It's like the chicken and the egg.
No. We have to build our party back up so we can educate the voters. Right? The voters are not being educated at the ground level.
Okay, so you think if we educate the voters?
Yes.
Okay, I have a choice. I'm a voter. I don't really care that much about voting. I don't vote very often. It just is what it is. We know. I can tell you that when I go out in my district and any other district, I say, who's your congressman? I'd say 1% of the people know. What?
Ask them who their precinct committeeman is.
Well, for sure they don't know that, but they don't even know their congressman.
That's my point.
This is my point. So that's the low propensity voters. They don't really know. Maybe they don't care so much. If they have to go wait in line for 2 hours and hope that they're in town and hope that it's not raining or snowing and to vote, versus somebody who has to do nothing, and they make it so easy. All they have to do is sit on their couch and fill out a piece of paper and hand it to the nice young woman or man that's helping them. You're going to get a lot more votes that way, a lot more. And that's it's called legal ballot harvesting. It's completely legal, and it's actually, it's been bastardized with COVID.
Imagine,
but it's
instead of going after him for vote by mail, you went after him with explaining how the party works. The reason people don't want to vote is because they don't trust the party. They don't trust the Illinois Republican Party. And until you're going to have apathy voters. No one believes the vote matters.
Well, that's what we're fighting against. I'm just submitting to you what you call bullying. I call concierge service, making it easy for somebody to vote just by reminding them, not bullying them, but just by reminding them that it is important.
Go back to them before you give up on them.
Wait, what's that?
Let me interject for a second. I think what Mark is trying to say is that, if a person clearly tells you that, hey, I'm not interested or I'm not going to vote, I think you cross them off, right? And if you're going back to them, then you're bullying them. But if you can't get a hold of that person, or if the person is like, oh, I'm busy right now, can you come back later or something like that, right? Most people would drop that, but that's where these people would stay on that as a lead and make sure that they are able to connect and get a yes or a no. Is that correct?
It's very similar to sales in that way. And I have 200 people that work for me, primarily engaged in sales. And I know some, I not that I'm, famous, but I've written books and articles on the sales process. And I'm sorry, but this is a sale. You're selling somebody. It's their God-given right to vote. But a lot of people, as we know, most people don't take advantage of it. And so we have to sell them on the idea that it is important and they should do it. And if you could figure a way to get people just to have like their neighbor committee man who has, even a good committee man, don't forget, I'm talking about hiring full-time employees that are going to work, 10 hours a day. And basically, by the way, they only have to get about 1,000 votes in 4 months. You can do the math. It's very doable. And in fact, they've done it in Pennsylvania. They're doing it in New Jersey right now. They've done it in a lot of states. It works. It just works. And we could do it and should do it, I believe, in Illinois, but we don't do it. And if it's just because we have some people who are very principled and they don't agree with it because it seems immoral, I totally understand that, but we will continue to lose. We just won't get those voters that have a lot of apathy or don't really care or busy or whatever. And that is a lot of people. And we're never going to get those people to vote. And if we think we can wrangle up a bunch of PCs and get them motivated and they're going to work, I'm telling you, these ballot harvesters work 10 hours a day. Even a good PC works, an hour on a nice Saturday, maybe, if it's nice out, they don't, you can't get volunteers to do this kind of work, and you can't get volunteers to follow up. Like, well, I can't see you today, but maybe I'm available Wednesday. Try getting volunteers to do that. I've tried. It's very difficult, even when you have good volunteers. They don't have the time. They're giving of their time, and so you can't really expect it to be done by this volunteer army that we wish we had, and we could, in a fantasy world, we could, let's suspend disbelief and say we could get them. I will tell you that one paid, trained, motivated, managed ballot harvester is worth 100 PCs. I hope you're not offended by that, but just, do the math. This guy's working, 10 hours a day, every day. And his livelihood, and they're getting paid well. They're getting paid like, $3,000-4,000 a month, and they can make even more money if they do well. And they're, frankly, if their candidates win, they have a good chance to maybe get a job offer when the campaign's over. And you want to hear something that I bet will really amaze you guys? I think, AC, I told you that the one of the KPIs, or one of the, SOP, standard operating procedure for this activity, is these you're really going to hate this, Carla, is these ballot harvesters, they're not even local people. They're supposed to live like 100 to 200 miles away at a minimum. So this is like an army. These are like young people typically that parachute in, and they're living there through the duration. They're not going to their soccer game or their girlfriend, boyfriend's house. They're working, and they take it really serious. And that's how you turn this thing around. That's how you get 50 to 100 people in the precinct that don't normally vote. That's how you get them to vote. And not bullying them, just reminding them, just sending them emails, sending them texts, knocking on their door, listening to what concerns they have, and then showing them simply by voting, they can actually change some of those concerns they have by voting in their local, whatever it is, their local trustee or the local Congress or whatever. And if it didn't work, I wouldn't be so vociferous about this, but we know it works. Trump told us to do it, in fact, but we just didn't. I did it a little bit, by the way, and I got more votes than anybody got in 20 years. I got like 90% more votes than the 4-year previous guy, although he was an independent. But I mean, at 100%, this thing works. And I understand the ethical question. You say, well, why should I do something that I think is unethical just because the Democrats do it? And that's a good argument. We can talk philosophically about that for a long time. But I think we really got to just play by the rules as they are and try to win elections. And if we can win some elections, we can try to change those rules. But we're never going to change them unless we start winning. And I do not believe that the party is going to rebuild itself magically and somehow start winning elections without taking advantage of the rules such as they are, instead of the way we want them to be.
Well, you can tell you're a politician. You like those long answers. I'm just going to quit.
Oh, I hate that.
Well, going to have to agree to disagree on this.
Yeah.
But I encourage everyone on this call to listen to what David Clemens, he's the professor on record, has been sharing about election integrity and the risks of these systems, especially the ones that they've been calling out, that he has been sharing, that the statistics that they're showing, they've got statistics that counter that. So I just encourage everyone to do your own homework. Go in. David Clements. He lays it out clearly and backs it up with facts that I'm not going to bore everyone here tonight, but please do your homework. And just remember what our moms always said, if someone's going to jump off a bridge, doesn't mean we need to jump off the bridge too. If we want God to bless us, we have to keep the moral high ground. I absolutely believe that 100%. Once a ballot leaves the voters' hands without proper tracking, there's no way to prove it was handled correctly. There's no clear record of who took possession of it. There's no clear record when it changed hands. There's no clear record of when it was even delivered or when it was open. That destroys the paper trail that keeps our elections verifiable. It destroys transparency. And when we decide that that's the path we're going, we are going to lose our nation. We're going to lose our state. So I can agree to that. So I'm just going to agree to disagree, but I will say I appreciate your back and forth, and I appreciate
Colin, I appreciate everything you say. And I'm a religious person myself. I'm an Orthodox Jew. And we actually believe, I mean, it's Old Testament, but most Christians, I think, agree that we should just follow the laws of the land that we live in. And the laws in the land that we live in Illinois is ballot harvesting is a legal activity. And so that's how I justify that, because like I said, I don't like it. When I get in Congress, I'm going to vote or do the best I can to try to change in the state of Illinois. I'll be federal, not state, but still to change all of those things to make it more moral and to get rid of all those things that fellow you're talking about. I read so much about voter integrity and all the things that we need to do to try to correct that. But I think that I do believe in God, and I find this as a calling to try to communicate that the way that we can do that is to get at least some power and not be in the super minority in the state or federally for the state of Illinois, and to make those changes. So you follow the rules, you follow the laws, you get in there and you make all those changes to make sure that illegals aren't voting and that they're not forging signatures. And by the way, it's true that the chain of custody isn't one person because they're handing that ballot over to another person, but we need to get to people's doors and we need to register them to vote. As long as they're somewhat conservative, we need to get them to vote. I mean, that seems to be just to be completely obvious. And we need to do everything we can with election judges and with poll watchers and with lawfare, lawsuits and lawyers to make sure we're doing everything to stop the steal. I'm 100% for that. And by the way, my campaign even put up signs in Spanish. Maybe you guys know Jacqueline. Jacqueline was my campaign manager, Jacqueline Garrison. And we made signs, and Jacqueline put them up in, for instance, in Elgin, and the cops came to take the signs down, and all they said, it was in Spanish, so the illegals could read it, like, don't vote if you're illegal. If you vote and you're illegal, you're going to jail or you're going to be deported, something like that. But that was freedom of speech, First Amendment. We were allowed to do that, and the police came, and they couldn't even take the signs down. And as I understand it, and perhaps part of that lawsuit that I explained to you from that organization, is that there were a few people that did. I mean, I know for a fact that some illegals voted, but anyway, some then read our sign in Spanish, and they were given $50 to vote because they had a driver's license and a social security number. And then they said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know, this wasn't allowed," in Spanish. They said that, and here, please give me my ballot back. So I mean, I know there's cheating, and I don't like it, but praying about it is great, and I do pray for it. But I think God wants us to do something about it. And to me, it is just so clear, as a person who's like very clear-eyed and nuts and bolts trying to figure out this whole very dirty political business in this dirty state, which has been built on corruption for generations. This isn't something new. How can we change it? We've got to start ballot harvesting, and that would enable people like me to win instead of lose. That is the difference.
All right, thanks, Mark. Vernon Township, I know you had your hand up. Did you have any question for Mark, or did you want to add anything to the conversation?
Can you hear me okay? Hi, it's Mel.
Yep.
Are you going to family weekend in Iowa? Or
I'm not.
Weekend, you're not? Okay.
No, it's just the worst time. It's crowded. Everything's taken. My son doesn't want me there on top of it. So.
Okay. We're going up very, very briefly. Just doing a quick thing like Saturday night. So I just wanted to ask.
Awesome.
Anyway.
Awesome. You'll have to let me know how it goes. So,
okay.
go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. You guys, everybody who's been on this space and hears me yap or whatever, I yell all the time. This is a sales position. Being a precinct committeeman is a sales position. Mark, I met you briefly at a McHenry event a while ago. I'm Mel with Vernon Township Republicans. I'm vice chair under Jay Swidler.
Yeah.
So thank you for running again, because I do always thank candidates. If you're going to do it again, that's awesome. That's where the hard stuff happens and where the most hope is, I think. So thank you for running again. And I put some things in the chat just to fill in the flavor, because I don't know if everybody knows exactly what's going on the end of the Bailey camp and Brett Corrigan moving from the Bailey camp to the new governor, who just has now 2 weeks. And I know you were talking about that, so I put a couple things, and also with Illinois Record, because I know that not everybody is going to be familiar with your son and some of his, opinions and stuff like that. So just wanted to disclose that I did put that down there for people. Maybe look at it later. But on the subject of ballot harvesting, this is what pisses me off. And as a precinct committeeman and in an organization, wouldn't it be great if they paid our PCs $4,000 a month to frickin' do what we're already doing anyway?
Yeah.
That's part of the problem, I believe. And you're absolutely right. In Vernon, we found that 4 to 6 contacts per year, no matter if it's an election or not, can increase turnout in the precincts that we do it in. And we have coverage about 30%. So we've kind of like over 2 years established, that obviously that does work. And we're not, that's what the Dems do. We're targeting the squishy, even like soft R's or persuadables, like people who don't vote in every election. I mean, if you really want to, have an exercise in craziness, you can go to those Dem doors. You could go to those quote unquote independent doors or whatever. But even the persuadable R's, it is just, building a relationship with them. You're not bullying anyone. That first contact is, what are your issues? What are you concerned about? Do you know that we exist? Do you know that you have a precinct committeeman? Do you know where to vote? And the more you contact them, they're more likely to show up and vote. And
Yep.
as far as ballot harvesting, you know, that's where I understand both sides of the argument. But if we had the infrastructure in there where you're an elected precinct committeeman, if we had elected precinct committeemen in all of these precincts taking care and managing their turf, then you're an official candidate. You are an elected representative, and the ballot harvesting morality would be, it would be softened a little bit, because I know so-and-so at 123 Elm Street, and they gave me permission and told me come pick up my ballot because I can't make it out there or whatever.
Right.
And what you're talking about is what frustrates everybody in the grassroots, in my opinion, is that when election time comes around, candidates have huge budgets, they got a lot of money, and they can, I heard in an event last night that the new governor guy is paying like maybe $20 to $30 per signature, so he can get, the minimum and some extra. Now, we've got precinct committee people who do that rain, shine, and it's not. In Vernon, we don't train our PCs to just show up on a random Saturday. We're trying to get away from that, but it is a volunteer job.
Yeah, we have lives, right? You've got kids
but
and
we
church.
we have built-in systems that, we're texting people, we're emailing them, we're going to the door, and we're doing all the other stuff. So, yeah, it's sales. I tell all the groups out there, like, if you want to get precinct committeemen and find, the best ones out there, get someone who just likes talking to people and like selling shit.
Exactly.
You are selling Republican. You're selling, we can infight, we can have our disagreements. And really, honestly, in the past couple weeks, I'm like, this is more of a shit show than I've seen, and I haven't been here a long time.
It's bad, yeah.
But we still got to sell this shit. So it is what it is, and I just wanted to contribute on that end and say, whatever the debate is, if you want something to stop, if you want something that the Democrats are totally taking advantage of and you want it to stop, just do it better than them.
That's right.
We've seen it with
That's
the
the best way to stop, right?
The gerrymandering argument in Texas or whatever. If you can beat them at their own game, then suddenly they're going to have a problem.
Exactly. The best way to stop it is just to do it ourselves, and then they'll want to stop it too because it isn't working for them. So I have a lot of confidence that when I win this time, and I can bring up a bunch of state reps and state senate. Actually, my district, half the state senators and half the state reps are Republican. People don't even believe that when I tell them. But anyway, but if we can bring up some challengers, when was the last time we won any? I don't remember the last time we won some of those races. And they'll know we did it from ballot harvesting. Maybe that'll persuade some of these people that are reading the Bible instead of reading the election results. That we've got to do something to make a difference to move this in. And by the way, I didn't tell you guys. But my business, I had as many as 3,000 independent contractor salespeople working for me. So I have a lot of experience managing salespeople. Now we're inside sales, and we've only got a little less than 200 people, but they're full-time, not independent contractors selling. So I know something about selling, and I'm trying to apply exactly that to the activity of just it's so much easier to get somebody that doesn't vote to fill out a little piece of paper than getting them to write a check for a product or a service. It's a much easier sale. So I've only hired like 3 or 4 people so far, and we're just getting started, and I don't have the most money in the world, but like my budget to flip a whole U.S. congressional district is only about $900,000. And it may sound like a lot, but it's really not a lot for a U.S. congressional district to flip. And I could show you the numbers. It actually comes to $30 a vote, $30 a new vote, not getting somebody that would vote in person to vote by mail. That doesn't count. These are new voters that wouldn't vote otherwise. It comes to $30 a vote. You get 1,000 basically voters. That's 30,000. The worker gets $30,000 for working like 5 months to do it. And I'm telling you, this is like cookie cutter stuff. It just works. The Democrats do it. The Republicans do it everywhere that they can, except for Illinois. And it's actually it's too long for this Twitter space, but I always wonder, why is it we don't get that message? Why aren't we doing it? Are we controlled opposition and the Democrats want to make sure that we don't do it, or is it, is it we're useful idiots? I mean, what is it that we don't identify? Why do we lose from an electioneering standpoint purely, and why don't we engage in the behavior to fix that? And honestly, we're just not doing it. So I'm just trying to do it in one district, but that's also like 5 Senate districts and 10 state rep districts and a bunch of other, county board seats and stuff like that. And if I can have success, that'll be a nice example. And it won't be with the party's support. It'll frankly be with like people like Aaron Del Mar and stuff. Although Darren Bailey's my friend, so I don't know. But there's people against me just for the fact that maybe they don't like my son. That's why Aaron's against me. But others, because what I'm suggesting is something different. And they're very comfortable with their little jobs and their little titles, and maybe they're partners with a consultant or two, and they make a little money off the newbie candidates who are too stupid to know what they're doing. And it's like a little racket that's been going on too long, and I would like to change all that. But really the only way I know to change it is to start winning and to lead by example. So that's what I'm doing.
All right, thanks, Mark. Mark, so in essence, it would work either if there's a candidate who's got a pretty good budget, or in a district, if some of the candidates can kind of pool their resources,
yes,
so as to be able to hire such employees, correct?
Yep.
That would be the right
exactly
strategy.
what I'm doing. That's what I am doing.
Okay.
Not planning, I'm actually doing it. I'm partnering right now with, I can't say actually on here, but I whatever. I have agreements with other candidates only because we have some primaries and I have a primary, but in general, we're trying to partner. So let's say I told you it takes $900,000 to flip a district. That'll basically get you about 30,000 votes, new votes. So if you're in a congressional district that the delta is 30,000 for $900,000, you can do it. But if you have, some state senators and state reps and county board members, et cetera, that also are interested in winning and flipping something, and even some incumbents, because I've got a couple incumbents that are partnering with me because they're nervous, about losing their election because it's Trump is in and it's a midterm, and they buy the argument that we lose seats in that situation. Anyway, but so instead of 900, it's 450, right? If I just get one person to partner with me, it's half that. And if you get 2 or 3 or 4, all of a sudden it's really it becomes very manageable. And I will tell you, we have candidates who stupidly spend their money on mail and digital and billboards and all this crap, which, so I mean, some of it works. It has some benefit, and I'm guilty of it too. I've got the thousands of yard signs and we've done digital and all that, but all those things have something in common. And this hasn't been brought up yet, which is that the consultants or the consultant class, many of whom are partners with leadership in different GOP orgs, let's just say, they make money off that. They make a lot of money. If I spend 900,000 with CORE, and by the way, I name names. I'm not a wuss. I've got, I'm from Texas. I don't mess around. So if they spend it with one of these consultants, then 20% of that, 30% of that is going to go to party insiders and or the consultants themselves, and they're going to make $300,000 off me. If I spend $900,000 to actually try to win instead by hiring people and managing them and so forth in this ballot harvesting operation, the consultants will make zero. So when you read articles or you hear people against the activity of ballot harvesting, I frankly think that has a lot to do with it. It's self-preservation of the consultant class and their grifter friends. And I'm sure everybody on here knows who I'm talking about. I mean, in any county, you've got people making money off of losing, essentially, and running elections. And then, by the way, the candidates feel like they got ripped off, which they did, and they don't run again. That's why almost nobody runs twice. Like, I'm the first guy to run twice in a row in my district. And I told people when I ran, or some people that gave me money said, I'll only give you money if you promise to run twice. And so anyway, so I committed to doing that. And now I have an open seat, which is, wait, by the way, how about this? Does anybody here know what percentage of the time in the nation and Illinois is no different, what percentage of the time does a opponent running against an incumbent, either Democrat or Republican, it's the same number, what percentage of time do they win? Anybody guess what that number is? Because I know.
Tosi, go ahead. What's your guess, Tosi?
Hey, yes, I know, Mark. Hi, everyone. My name is Tasi Ufadike.
Hey, Tasi.
And I'm the Republican candidate for District 51. Only 3%
Yeah.
of the times do you beat an incumbent. It's extremely hard. People act like it's very, very hard to do because obviously incumbents have name recognition. They've been in the seat. They use the funds to publicize their time in office. So it's very, very hard. Yep.
But what a joke. Like Tasi and I both ran, again, Tasi's in my district. We both ran against an incumbent last time. I actually got in a fight with her incumbent's father. Remember that in the parking lot? But he's like a jihadist, crazy guy. But anyway, now Tasi's running in an open seat, as am I. So our odds, Tasi, I think, go from 3% chance to 50% chance. But you and I are going to have to do it without the party helping us because we're not going to kiss the ring and play their stupid games and give our money to the grifter consultants like I was talking about. But I think we both can win.
Actually, I did want to go to Tasi for that. So, Tasi, now you've had some experience with the petition season here and stuff. So, what are your thoughts on that? You've talked to a lot of people, motivated voters, motivated voters. What's your take on this strategy?
I actually like Mark was saying earlier, he used the word stupid when you first run. I wouldn't use the word stupid. I would just say you're so optimistically naive. Like you just think you're a Republican. So when you come in, you think everybody loves Trump and we're in the Republican Party and we're all like excited. And then you start hearing about the never Trumpers and the grifters and the people who don't really want to see Republicans win and unfortunately take votes like Democrats. And I just call it naive. But anyway, the ballot harvesting, Mark has been a big champion about that. I didn't know about it, but as I'm doing research, our last election, so I'm an Ela Township PC. Our last election, we were a conservative board and we lost and became Democratic. We have a Democrats in power. What they did, and we found this after we were doing research, there was some in-party fighting, but beside that, there was a lot of ballot harvesting, and the Democrats did it. They went to elderly homes, we found out senior living centers, and they brought the absentee ballots, and they didn't use the term ballot harvesting, but that's exactly what they did, and they won. So I don't know why our leadership won't be open to the idea of at least looking into it, putting some resources. We've tried everything else, and we've lost, right, as Republicans. So why not try this? I think it's a great, great way, a different way. And I agree with Mark on what he says. I just don't know why the party is not behind it. But I think moving forward, like you said, this time around, I'm really, really optimistic. I mean, we just have a great strategy. On Monday, I was at the Lincoln Day dinner. Mark was there. Everybody that's running for office was there. And it was really a good, exciting time for Republicans. When I've been out knocking doors, I've been listening to voters. Of course, I'm in a purple district, so I'll be honest. Not everybody in my district, even Republicans, likes Trump. But we focus on the issues. We're going to make the lives of my constituents a lot better. We're going to make sure that we fight for low taxes with the cost of living. There's so much stuff that's going on. Education, making sure parents have a voice in their child's education. I'm pro-life unapologetically, and I know Republicans say, oh my God, don't say those words, but you got to stay true to who you are. And when I talk to voters, they actually appreciate that. It doesn't mean I'm not going to listen to everybody in my district, but I am who I am. And, this time around, we've done the petitions. I actually like that it's been a very grassroots operation, meaning that I don't have the HRO getting me petitions. I don't have the Illinois Policy Institute getting me petitions. I'm a PC, and we have some hard-working precinct committeemen across Vernon Township, Ela Township, Palatine Township, that we're grassroots. We go out and we talk to the people, and we got the petitions. And I actually love it that way because I'm not beholden to anybody. I'm going to do what's best for my constituents. I'm going to do what's best for and follow and value our conservative principles. And this time around, I just think, our campaign anyway is a lot wiser, a lot smarter the way we do things. We're in a very great shape to file on Monday, the 27th, the first day that we can file petitions and get on the ballot. And the process has been really, really good. But if we want to win elections, we got to do things differently. And we have to listen to people and not just continue to do the same. It's insanity. Like Mark is in the business world, and so am I. If you keep doing things and failing, there's no other group that you get rewarded. You either get fired, you get put on an employee improvement
Not in
plan,
politics.
you get coaching, but you have to do things differently. In Illinois politics, it's the same. It's like they play musical chairs. It's the same people that are giving the power, and maybe because some of them have money, I don't know. And it's like we don't win. And if our measurement was, are you winning elections, or are you even trying to win elections? In Lake County, because I live in Lake County, my district includes Cook and Lake, but I live in Lake County. We have Lake County boards like nobody is running except the Democrat. And they're just going to sail in. Like, Republicans were so busy primary when we don't need the primary, and the Democrats are just sailing on in. So again, all of us here, we know Illinois can be a state that can really be red. My district was red 2 cycles ago. Unfortunately, it's blue now, but we are working so hard to flip it back red. And I think we have a great opportunity. So,
yeah, Tassi, I met with Keith the other day because I'm trying to recruit somebody to run in the 10th. We don't really have a real person, which is killing me. I just can't believe that we can't find anybody. They don't even have to live there. In fact, if anybody's on this call, believe it or not, if you wanted to run for Congress, you can be the nominee of the 10th district, which is almost flippable. It's possible. It's not crazy anyway. But no, there's a guy running who's 92 years old. You know about that guy?
Yes.
I mean, it's become like a joke. And candidates like Tassi and I, who we have our eyes wide open. We know, that the party thing is kind of sometimes a little bit of a scam. It's not real. Yeah. And we know what needs to be done to win. But we frankly just have to take it upon ourselves to make the efforts and make the plan and execute the plan, because nobody else is going to do it for us. And by the way, the fact that Illinois policy maybe isn't, helping you, or McCombie's HRO, that will only help you. I told Aaron that the other day. He's like, yeah, I'm not going to support you. I'm like, thank God. Now I can get more votes. Most people are so disgusted with the leadership of the party and some of these silly pretend organizations that really don't do anything but raise money to pay themselves nice salaries. We've got to end all that. We have a chance of doing it, Tassi, you and I and some others in our area.
Yeah, no, I think we have a very good chance of winning. I mean, it's going to take hard work, obviously. We're going to put in the work. There's no free lunches. But I just think this time, I know it's a midterm and everybody keeps saying, with the No Kings rally and this. But there's so many. What I found by knocking doors, there are a lot of Republicans. They just don't feel like there was one guy last week who told me at another PC, I used to give to the Illinois GOP. I'm not giving one more dime. I don't know where my money goes to. I've asked to be taken off the list. This is a Republican that used to vote, but he just saw nothing happening. So he's like, why am I throwing away my money? So we have to do a better job of showing people where the money is going when we do all these banquets and stuff. Where's the money? And then we have to do a good job of actually using that money to help candidates win elections. And if we don't do that, I always tell people, donate directly to the candidate. I'm sorry.
Of course.
Anybody who's listening who might not like that.
Tassi, is the GOP running anybody against you in your primary?
The GOP.
Or HRO? Or?
Not that I know. Who knows?
Oh, good.
We'll see who's on the ballot. You know,
Yeah,
you gotta get
they're running one against me. All us grassroots people that are, not all, but many like true grassroots people. They're trying to attack us and run people against us in the primary. But that'll be so sad. So like I'm running basically against Richard Irvin, you know. So it'll be fun to.
Oh my God, Mark, you're funny.
Well, I mean, it's actually your Central Committee woman, Joan Lassonde, is her campaign manager. So and her full-time consultant will also work for the Irvin campaign. So it's good. Like some of this ugliness, AC, we're talking about, like it's good that it's flushing it out. Like you get to see who the real rhinos are, the people that don't care about winning elections, or they even are so scared of people like me and Tassi for telling the truth and and exposing what's really going on, that they will do everything they can to try to defeat us. And so that's what we need. We need like a revolution. We got to shake things up and turn things around. And it's not going to happen without breaking some eggs.
All right. Thanks, Mark. I'm going to go to you, Mike, next. Mike, you were having some problem with your petitions. How's that going?
Well, we're still struggling. We've been asking for help for a long time now, ever since we got started, 3-4 months ago. We've been asking, and nobody's even emailed me. There's been no assistance from the GOP in my area. We have contacted all of the committee people in our district, and I mean there's a lot of empty seats, but there's still a lot of people that are in those seats, and they're not helping. They're not doing anything. Sign my.
Yeah, that's kind of like the case with a lot of candidates. You're pretty much on your own, unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry, Mike. What are you running for, and what district or area are you in?
The second district congressional seat. So we've met.
Oh, great! I met a lot of people, and it's my pleasure, obviously. So you're
and you met my assistant Todd also.
Oh, great!
He was at the GOP meeting in Will County last week.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you, Mike, and I'm so happy that you remembered meeting me. But one thing I'll say is, you have to. Unfortunately, when I was talking earlier about that, when you first run, and I don't know if it's your first race, but it's like naive. I won't call anybody stupid, but you're like naive. CRO, HRO, all of them. Again, they might mean well. All I know is when you're a candidate, you have to. It's like you're running your own small business. You have to do the work. CRO, again, Dean White is a great guy. He tries his best, but you have to do it yourself. And I know that sounds so hard because you want the party to help you and you think the party should help you, but there's no cavalry coming. You got to just get your PCs, go out yourself and raise the money, knock doors, and it's going to be frustrating, and you're going to ask the party, and sometimes they make promises they can't keep, but you can't give up. You got to be resilient if you really want it and if you're called to do it. But you don't expect anything, and if you do get something, be grateful, and if you don't get anything, know that you earned it, and nobody can tell you what to do or how to vote. You're your own man, and that's just how it is in Illinois politics. And like I said, I was very naive, but now I'm not, and I try and share my experience with other candidates to help them.
Yeah, no, you've got that right. I have been naive, but at the same time, I don't expect anything from anybody else, just because I know that there's a lot of people out there that are just unmotivated. I have been doing this myself. I've got my assistant Todd. He's been helping. It's basically just been the two of us out there door knocking, and I have been talking to talking with everybody that answers the door. And I have run into people that are disenfranchised with the voting process, the party itself. And, after talking with them for a few minutes, I'm able to get them to sign my petition because they can see that, I'm not the typical politician. I'm out there, working for them, and trying to get things, to make sense, because things are so messed up. I've even had people tell me that, well, yeah, 6 months after you get elected, you're going to be just like the other people. You'll be corrupt and everything. And telling them, I'm not that person. I push back. When somebody pushes at me, I push back even harder. I'm not a yes man. I don't go with the status quo just because everybody expects me to. I'm going to do what is right for the people. That's why I'm out there actually talking to the people, and they like that. I've had a lot of people, warm up, and just because I'm out there in person talking to these people.
Mike, I got a quick question for you. Considering this is the first time that you ran, is there a reason why you chose to run for U.S. congressional district versus state rep?
Well, we've got Jackie Haas has been our state rep for a long time, and I think she's doing a good job. And I think that I don't want to take that away from her. We need to flip these blue seats to red. People are tired of what's going on. I'm being told by my campaign manager that about 30% of the people in the Democratic Party are not happy with the direction that the Democratic Party is going. And so I'm looking at that as that's 30% of the voters that I'm looking to grab. And I'm very confident that I can do that. We're gonna get enough petitions signed to get on the ballot. It's just been rough and time consuming, which I don't mind doing. I just don't have a lot of time to do that. But that's what I'm doing. I'm taking extra time off of work just to get this done. And I know that I can win this once I get on the ballot. I have no doubt in my mind that we're going to take this over.
All right, thanks for coming on.
You know the math, right? You're familiar with like Robin Kelly and what she got last time and the time before and all that, right?
Yeah.
So what are you talking about? I mean, come on. Ashley Ramos ran last time. Can we just be honest? Like, if you were to win that race, okay, you would set a world record in terms of a district that's a D plus, such a deep blue district. You would literally set a record in the United States for an upset. And I'm not saying that's not possible, but I mean, it hadn't happened in 100 years, and we're sitting here on Twitter Spaces trying to figure out how we can actually turn the state red, and I don't see it.
Well, we got to get out there and actually do the work. That's where the problem is, that people aren't willing to go out there and do the work. We need to get in front of the people and talk to them. I don't think that's happening.
Okay, what percent of your district is African American? Do you know? It's 50%, right?
It's at 45%.
Okay, I see 50% when I look it up. I mean, what are you talking about? Why are we? I mean, you're not a dumb guy. You know, nobody. Jesus Christ couldn't run for U.S. Congress and win in your district. And I'm sorry, I'm just an honest guy, and I don't agree. People don't like me talking honestly, but we need to get serious about winning elections. And I'm not sure if you're serious.
Yes, we do.
Or not.
And that's why I'm out here doing it by myself. I believe that this can be done. If I
What
didn't
makes
believe
you
I could
believe?
do
I
this,
just
I
told
wouldn't
you
be
it
doing it.
hadn't happened in 200 years. That a district like yours.
I don't listen to people like you.
Okay, I understand.
I don't listen. I'm my own person. I know I can do it.
All right. Okay.
I can get out there and I can talk to people.
Right. But do you
People
understand
see me
that
and talk
people
to
like
me.
me who've given up their job, given up their whole life to actually try to win elections, sometimes we get frustrated when people, well-meaning, wonderful, God-fearing people, they want to make a difference. But my God, man, I mean, look at
I don't agree with God fearing either.
Oh.
Anybody that fears God is I don't understand.
All right. We could go on this forever. So I'm going to put a stop to this. Okay.
Yeah.
You both have your own races, and I wish you the best.
It's all about getting out and talking to the people, and that's what I'm doing.
Mike.
And and I know if I get in front of enough people, we can win this.
All right, Mike. Thanks for coming up, and I wish you all the best in your race.
Thank you.
Tassi, did you want to say something? I'm going to quickly come to Carla. If anybody has any other questions, then just let me know. Okay, so Tassi, you did not have anything. Carla,
No, I don't have anything.
Okay, thanks. Carla, if you wanted to add something quickly.
Yeah, I'll just add something very quickly. I'm not going to say what I want to say, but Mike, you keep doing what you need to be doing. You know what God's called you to do, and you keep doing. Don't let anyone talk you out of it. You know what's right in your heart. I hear so many people say the GOP isn't work. Do keep doing you. We know the only way to take back this party is to get off the chair and do what you're doing. And anyone to be pompous enough to say that you shouldn't be doing it I have no use for it. So I'm just going to leave it at that. But one reason I raised my hand is because I hear so many people say the GOP isn't helping. They're absent. They're broken. They're disconnected. And instead of fixing it, we've learned to work around it. That's what we've been doing. Well, it's broken. There's nothing we can do. But that needs to stop. The only way forward is to rebuild the party. It's our party. The Illinois GOP is weak because I've said it over and over. We are absent. When we leave the seats empty, when they're over 50% vacant throughout the state, we leave the power in the hands of a few. The reason the party the way it is because we've got the attitude that we've been fighting, the keep it small, keep it all attitude, and that needs to change. If you're tired of the Aaron Delmars, if you're tired of the Kathy Salvies, if you're tired of the State Central Committee members who carry the titles without doing the real work, the only solution isn't to walk away. It isn't to step aside. It's not to work around it. It's to become an elected precinct commitment. It only takes 10 signatures from Republican voters in your neighborhood, which is your precinct, to get on the ballot. And every precinct outside of Cook County is on the ballot in 2026. Every township committee person outside of Chicago is on the ballot. There's, I believe, 30 of them that are on the ballot in 2026. These positions are not symbolic. These are voting seats that elect your county chairman and the voting seats that elect the state central committeemen, the very people who decide the direction of our party. And that vote is determined by a weighted vote. The precinct committeemen and the township committeemen vote those seats based on how many people voted in their precinct. The more people who vote in their precinct in the primary, the stronger their vote is. That's the message we need to be telling our voters. Not to give it up, but to tell them if we want a stronger party, we have to become the party. Yeah. We can't keep working around a broken system. We've got to fix it right in front.
Carla, I'd just like to say one problem we haven't touched on that I was addressing is the misapplication of resources. We can't win every race. I mean, we have to be a little bit honest, right? And there are some gerrymandered districts that we just cannot win. And I understand you don't, but I'm just talking common sense here. Like the Cook County. Wait, let me finish. I'll let you finish.
Carla, just let him finish.
So Cook County is overwhelmingly Democrat voting, right? So a county-wide, for example, race where the Republican would typically get 30%, 25%. In fact, if Cook County just voted 35% red, the whole state would be red. So that's actually where the big issue is. But in any event, like if let's say you have $1 to donate to help a Republican win an election, if you were to give that $1 to, I think his name was Mike, or you were to give that $1 to, or an hour of your time to Mike or to somebody running for Cook County, something or other, where they're going to get 20 or 30% of the vote, instead of going to a race like my own race is a D+2. Okay, these other races we're talking about are D+32. And I'm sorry if it's too much common sense and some people might get triggered by it, but it just is what it is. We have a better chance of winning a race that's essentially purple than deep blue. And as a party, we ought to come to grips with that and not misapply our resources. We've done that in past elections where, in fact, the leadership of your precious party directs people to put resources into races that we can't win because the most money goes back to them in the form of grifter type commissions. And so they're not trying to win. They're just trying to feather their nest and they can say, oh, I have somebody running in this impossible to win race. And God bless Mike for being the man of La Mancha and trying to win. I'm just telling you, as a party, we need to recognize that we need to try to win elections, and we should not misapply resources into completely pathetically impossible races to win, and we should focus on what we can do to win, which would be identify those races where we have at least a chance and put our resources there. And if you think the party's going to do that or electing committeeman, I mean, you might be right, but I think we're 10, 20 years away from that happening, and I'm not going to be around 20 years from now.
Thanks, Mark. Vernon Township?
I don't know. I was having connection issues, so I may have missed whatever. But as far as, like Carla's points, absolutely. We've talked about this, and Carla is like sometimes people who come to this space, they don't understand that like after 50 weeks or so, there's regulars, and Carla's like a featured speaker on here, and she's with the Illinois Freedom Alliance. They do phenomenal work training precinct committeemen all the time. I refer a lot of my fellow PCs in our township and elsewhere, but the commentary about like you can't win in this district just vaguely sounds like a consultancy thing to say, because I have heard consultants say, for example, that 51, we should give up on 51 and Tossi's running, and there is an HRO candidate for 51. I mean, she is getting a primary. So, just adding a little bit of perspective that some of us, have to maybe respect some other viewpoints and respect other people, because we're all, nobody's like hanging out on the X space talking about inside baseball or, planning their campaign. However, maybe sad that it might be, just like, we all know the 92-year-old guy in Lake County who's, he runs for something every year. And that's what he does, but like, it's not his problem that's our options right now. Just as, Mark mentioned, talking to Keith Bryn, who's chair of Lake County, and I'm sure he's not the only one. I'm sure there are many of us who are like, why don't we have candidates? You look at DuPage County and what Kevin Coyne has been doing over there, where he made it basically his mission. I'm going to fill every single empty, place with like a candidate, a Republican candidate, and he's like kicking butt. So we all have, like, every little area has their problems, and everybody's like just trying to do what they're trying to do. And I don't think, I just think that it's funny to hear people kind of like, turn their nose up or talk about grifters and consultants, but I've heard like very similar sentiments coming out of the very people that they define as grifters or consultants sometimes. Like if it's not, if it's a D plus whatever, then, don't even bother with it. And I've heard that about, like I said, it's funny. I'm so glad Tossi's on this call, because I've heard that about 51. Like, why are we bothering with 51? Oh my God, it's a lost cause. But yet the HRO wants to, vet someone and run someone and give Tossi a primary when she's, this is her second race. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
All right, thanks, Vernon Township. I think, and I want to defend you here, Mark, but I think I think you're speaking from the point of common sense, maybe an extreme common sense, right? But I also see the merits on the other side, right? When you see somebody like Mike, he's using his own resources, right? So there's no resources being lost, right? And these are mostly local resources, so these aren't resources that are being taken away from another candidate, right? So
Yeah, I think that's good, by the way. I'm
right, and that's what I'm trying to say, is that I think you agree with that, and I think you're just trying to be realistic and offer realistic advice, and that's exactly what my point was, that it's something that...
And I am doing this on my own dime. I'm not taking any other resources to do this. I just would have liked to have a little bit of help knocking on doors, but that didn't happen. I'm okay with that. I'm out there doing it myself, and I'm getting a lot of people signing because I'm actually talking to the people. They're sick of what's going on, and we have a chance to flip this, and that's why I'm doing this.
And Mike, what's really frustrating to me, I bet all of you will agree with me on this, is like, so here in the 10th, I say here, but in the 10th district, we don't have even a candidate, and then we've got other races where we've got 3 and 4 people running in a primary. I mean, it's like so stupid of us. You'd think we could do a better job. I think most of you know, to run for U.S. Congress, you don't even have to live in the district. And by the way, in the 10th, that's Brad Schneider is the incumbent, and I've got FOIA documents that are really damning to his chances of re-election. And I would love for somebody to run there, and or resources get put into that race, and it would actually help me in my race. It would for sure help Tassi in her race, because she's down ballot to that race. And so I just sometimes get frustrated when I hear these South Side precincts that haven't been Republican in 100 years, and they're D plus 20 or 30. Like I've got some real actionable things that we could do as a group if we could just get together.
I'm going to go quickly to Tassi, and then I'll come to you, Libs. Go ahead, Tassi.
Yeah, no, I just want to emphasize a couple of things. First of all, Mike, you're running, like I said, you met me, just go for it, do your best work, and let God's will be done. Number 2.
That's what
right.
I'm doing.
Number two, Carla. I have actually, as a PC, attended her trainings, and I want to say thank you, Carla. What you do is not easy. Being a PC, it is the foundation for winning elections. And Ela, if we had every area filled with the hardworking PC, we would not be in the situation we're in now. The PCs are the lifeline and the heartbeat of every campaign. And I want to say thank you, Carla. I respect what you do. Like I said, I've attended your training, and it's not easy. And as far as races, this is what I just say. You work hard, let the people decide, keep moving forward, and let's make Illinois red and great again. All right, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Something else that I wanted to
Hey, Rabbi.
on. You were asking
Rabbi is here.
what percentage of my
Hey,
district is
Rabbi.
African American.
Look who it is.
Personally, I find
It's
that
that
offensive.
fucking that
My
piece
wife
of
is
shit
Japanese,
Jordanian
so,
shawarma eating, kanafa
I
cooking,
am not a
falafel
person that doesn't
making,
talk to everybody. I
goat
don't talk
herding,
to anybody that
goat
is
milk
willing to
drinking,
stand there and listen.
fake
and
ass
talk.
Christian,
So,
Greek Orthodox
for
bullshit
it to actually
artist,
be,
Fat Life
do it
Supreme,
as a
day
race,
trading piece of
race,
shit,
I find that offensive.
Randy
Listen,
McDickerson.
I have black.
Of the
I'm not
anybody
a race subject.
to
It's an
me.
electioneering thing. If you have an ethnic group that votes overwhelmingly Democrat in your district, and they're a large part of your district, that makes it very, very challenging to win. Which is why
I agree, it does.
like math.
Like I said, anybody that wants to call me, racist,
Mike, I don't think he's calling you racist,
I was
and
just
I don't
talking
think you're calling him racist. Let's just clarify this.
I talk to everybody.
So, Mike, yeah, and I think Mark is coming from a statistical standpoint.
I'm recording Mark Rice, who's running for Congress here in Illinois, and an X Space.
Racist.
Yeah, it's like a clubhouse room basically. It's on X Spaces. What's new with you? How's Wall
Like, my life is amazing. I'm wondering how you're doing with your work.
Man, I
Like,
dude.
because you left last time, I didn't figure it out. Like, they're garnishing your wages and you got fired, or what happened?
let's not go backwards. Let me just tell you where I'm at. The tenant checked out in the basement. Fucking, he had a dog. The dog pissed all over everything. Had to rip out the carpet, toss the mattress,
But
all
that's
the
your
sheets.
basement, right?
My
That's
basement.
your-
Yeah, my building. So he cost me thousands of dollars in damage. I had a girl cancel the reservation. She said she got a permanent stench and odor attached to her clothes. It's the dog piss. Dude, you cannot have a dog. It sucks, dude. They piss all over and people are lazy and I hate humans, so but I'm dating a pretty spicy 24-year-old nurse, so that's like the spiciest, most amazing thing in my life. I mean,
You are dating a 24-year-old, but that's too young for you, nigga, isn't it?
a little too young, a little too spicy, but like Kanye said, if you can't be used, you are useless.
Oh, chat. Oh, chat. Well, I mean, is she using you? How is she using you?
She's using me. I'm helping her. She's completely oblivious. She didn't
Nigga, you
have.
need someone to help. Nigga, motherfucker. You need
She
someone
didn't
to
have
help
a City of Chicago sticker on her windshield. She didn't have a plate sticker on her car. She owes $900 in parking tickets.
Child.
Her ETA is 8/24. That means I gotta get going soon.
You need someone to help you, nigga. You need someone to help you.
Well,
Yeah.
what I need you to do as my rabbi is to stop telling me to be productive and go direct to Hashem in Shemayim and tell him the issues so he knows for sure what help to send and which angels to bring to battle.
But I did. They told me I should go back to you, nigga.
Can't use the hard R.
I didn't use hard R.
Just a warning. Just a warning. We gotta get going, dude. My nurse has texted me, and I'm bringing the leftovers from last night. Bro, you should have seen the Persian food last night. Holy cow. It makes Arab food from Jordan look like dog food. You know what I'm saying? These Persians know how to cook a dinner. You Arabs don't know how to cook for shit when it comes to Persian food. Let me tell you that.
I disagree. I think, well, it depends where you go. It really depends where you go.
I mean, it's actually all very similar. Palestinian food and Persian food is so similar.
Ah.
Oh, Hugo is here.
Oh.
It doesn't matter. Let me finish up on this political recording, and then I'm going to go.
Well, finish up on your shit. Finish up.
We have to just put some effort into them. And because when you see something like Mark pointed out, yeah, when you don't even get 20%, it feels like you just wasted a lot of time on nothing. I agree. But here's the thing. Put 20% in, this guy gets 20. The next time we could run, we'd be like, hey, did you see the last 4 years or last 6 years? Your representative was shit. Let's get 30. Let's build it up. Let's keep going, because that's how you got to do it. We're not. You're building something up because we have nothing. We have to build it. And I know Illinois likes to focus on the rest of Illinois and not Chicago. But there are a lot of disenfranchised people in Chicago. A lot. And you could look at that from what the Mayor Johnson got. I mean, what is it, like 30% of the people that came out to vote for him? I mean, not for him, but just in general. 30%.
Yeah.
That means 70% of people are disenfranchised. Republicans are no fucking where to be found. And Democrats seem to be more and more I'll call it progressive, but I want to say radicalized for office, where the 70% need to be talked to. We have to do something. Now, I will say that, like I said, different places, different situations. Chicago's much different. We're not going to win in Chicago. I don't think that there's going to be a Republican congressman in Chicago. But there has to be something. Like, there has to be some sort of foundation built for the next guy. Okay? And it's important. It is really important. I'm with Mark on one hand. I'm also with Carly, because if we don't have, we can play Mark's game until we get the power, but we have to play Carla's game as well, because that's how we keep the power.
Hey, Lib, you'll find this funny. I tell Annie, who Carla works with,
Sure.
I hug her and I kiss her. I tell her I love her, and we agree on everything except
They don't
for
even care,
dollar
Chuck,
amounts.
or are concerned.
Well, it's one of those
I tell
things
her
that as soon as you
Oh,
said
yeah.
it, I was just like, oh, that's not what. When you said that this is how the Democrats play, I agree. This is
You
how
are
they play. And
hyperanalyzing.
sometimes, unfortunately, you have to play the dirty
there's a
game to
lot
beat the
there.
dirty people.
Yeah.
And that's where we are. That's where we are. But you know,
I have no problem.
I only chimed in because when you said Chicago, like places like Chicago or districts that haven't been read in 100 years.
You just don't understand.
I think that's. I think it's bullshit for anything or anybody to believe that. We can flip that. There are so many disenfranchised people. There just are.
And were you aware of my statistic that, I think we all know it, right? If Cook County were to go 35%, and we will still lose by a lot, but
it's
just
not just
35% would flip the whole state.
Well, and that's one of my premises is that it may be 35. We could get 35% today. We could get 38% the next election. We get 42% the next election. But I would say Republicans don't spend any time in Chicago. I mean, I'm just thinking about the governor's election. Darren Bailey, which I like Darren Bailey. I don't think he was the best choice for governor last time. But it is what it is. He had some campaign signs in Chicago down in the loop.
Videos.
That's shit. And then the rest of the time he spent calling Chicago a shithole, which we all know what he meant. But that's not how you're going to win votes, right?
Right.
And we can flip all this. There's different ways.
There to delete.
But I think that everybody has to kind of agree on what works for one guy in one place may not work in another place. And you know,
it's too much for you.
We all need to be on the same team because that's what really Democrats are.
It's too much for
they're really good about being on the same team. Even when they're not on the same team, they're on the same team.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I think that's really, really important. And stop bickering. I don't judge you based off your son. Me and your son have gone back and forth with some stuff. It is what it is. But I'm not judging you based off his thoughts and his ideas. But I'm not everybody. Other people may. So.
Some do.
I would have kept seeing me.
So,
I would.
But like I said, we all need to come together, and I think that's sometimes his rhetoric will be connected to you. You know that.
Yeah.
And when he goes after people, for instance, I know Terry. I've talked to Terry. I know Terry can be, kind of,
I know Terry very well.
I'm not calling Terry goofy. I'm saying he could be out there. You know what I mean? Like he's an outspoken person. He's out there, and he doesn't mind talking. But when you have people like, for instance, I'm naming Emily only because I've spoken to Emily and anyway, so we have to be united. We can't be like, we have this little bullshit thing that we disagree with, so fuck everything. It can't be like.
But wait, can I ask you something on that subject?
Yeah.
Do we have any standards at all? Like can we? Or is there anybody that we could say you can't be part of our party because of your behavior? You molest children, or you rape some. I mean, we've got to have some standards, shall we?
But if you ask me, it's what. I don't have the answer to that, and I'm not the person to come up with the stand. I can if everybody agrees or that they want me to, but I when it comes to the situation, I'm just going to bring up Emily only because that was the situation that was brought up. She did bad things in her life. She changed her life. If she was continuously doing bad, Terry did bad things in his life. If he was still doing that, I would not involve.
No, I understand they could turn that. I'm not even. I'm friends with both of them. They may hate me because of my last name, but like, how about Art Jones, for example? Can we agree that Art Jones should not be a candidate for Republican office of any kind? You remember Art? You know what I'm talking about?
I don't. No, I'm not.
He was also in one of these hopeless districts that can't really be won by Republicans, and he was the nominee. He ran unopposed, and he was the head of the Nazi the Illinois Nazi Party, and it was very embarrassing. And Max and other people, pointed that out, and he admitted it. I mean, this wasn't like a rumor.
Yeah.
He was proud of it. I mean, we do have to. We don't self-police ourselves. Is a nice way to say it. So
I would be.
I agree with her, and that's
doing
bad.
yoga
But we have
with
to have
me.
some minimum standards. My goodness, I mean, we're
I
supposed to
would
be
be
the
doing
party
yoga
that
with me
believes
at the
in
moment.
God and has morals and values. Sometimes,
anyway.
anyway, we don't do that.
I agree. I'm not fighting you on that at all. But you're 100% right. What those standards and what we should have, I know what I have. What everybody else has, I try to hold people to those standards as well. It's very difficult, but I just think on the same side. Like we got to think about it. Just think about this on as far as governor. We have Dabrowski, we have Mendrick, and I don't know if Bailey's still right, but anyway, we have people that are on our side. We know all those three of those people are Republicans.
Yoga with me at the moment.
We know they are. And so no matter who wins, we need to back that guy up and, criticize him when need to be criticized, but we need to back that person. And I feel like in the Republican Party, we just, if you don't like Bailey, you just shit on Bailey afterwards, and we can't do that,
Yeah.
We can't do it. We're not going to win like that. People don't do that to Pritzker. There's a lot of Democrats that I know, where I work, a lot of Democrats hate Pritzker. They still voted for him just simply because they had a D next to his name. And we need to have Republicans, and I hate to say it, we need to have Republicans that vote for a Republican when it comes to governor because he or she has an R next to their name.
Yeah.
And
by the way, I would tell you, I think they do everywhere. Illinois is Texas if you cut out Cook County and the Collar counties.
Well,
the rest of the state does exactly that. It's just this little communist area of Chicago.
I generally agree. I live in the middle of the communist area, literally. I am behind enemy lines, but and I'm pulling up to my communist area right now. But I think that when you said there's you could win your district.
Yeah.
But we need to set some sort of footprint in Cook County.
There has to be. And your problems.
Yep. And it's kind of disrespectful to every Republican in Chicago, to be honest with you. And I think the last I saw with the Chicago Republicans is somewhere around 25% of Chicago are Republicans. They're completely disenfranchised.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why we get to 30%. But I told you, my district's almost half Cook County, and half the state senators and half the state reps are Republican. More than half the mayors of the towns are Republican. There are Republicans in parts of anyway. Not the South Side so much, but on the Northwest side.
Yeah, I like I said, I'm very much for us having our disagreements about stuff, but I think we just need to be united on a common goal. And if the common goal is to get Mark Rice elected for for Congress, then that's what we need to do. And we can argue about the things we don't agree with later, right? And
all right, Libs, thanks for bringing the voice of reason.
All right.
You're the official.
The reason, isn't that insane?
You're the official mediator of the space.
I'm sorry for ranting and kind of taking over for a few minutes, but
no, it's all good.
I think it's important that we stay united.
Hey, do you mind if I chip in real quick? Sure. 1 second, Steven, just 1 second. Tassi, did you want to add something to the topic quickly?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make a correction actually to the last speaker because he made a comment that, I have to correct. I mean, I don't know if you were referring to, you said black people don't vote, and that's kind of an ignorant comment because how do you think Obama won twice, and how do you think Biden won? And why do you think Trump is targeting the blacks, right? So I think we just have to be careful. That was one. And then number two, I wanted to ask Carla, because when I jumped on, Mark asked me about ballot harvesting and about when she says it's immoral, I just want to learn more. Like, what is immoral about ballot harvesting so I can know for myself?
All right, those are two loaded questions, Tassi. It was supposed to be a quick statement.
Well, I want to, not to interrupt anybody, but I want to say that when I say black voters don't vote, I don't mean the percentage of black votes that a candidate gets. I mean the overall number of black people do not vote. And I grew up on the south side of Chicago. I know damn well I'm not black, but I know the black people don't vote.
Where are you getting that from, though? You can't make statements like that. It's me saying white people don't vote. Like that, where you have to, sorry, I'm an auditor and I'm a business person and I'm very smart as well. You got to have the facts. You can't just make black people voted overwhelmingly more than Asians and Hispanics over the last, you can check the facts. Now, if you want to tell me black people, and I don't know how you were raised or where you live, if you want to say, I live in the south side of Chicago and 50% of the African Americans do not vote or something like that, and you have the data to back it up, yes, but you just can't make blanket statements like that. And, I just have to correct you.
I'm driving, but I will find the data.
Yeah, if you find it, let me know, right? Yeah. Okay, so my question was for Carla, do you know what's more about ballot harvesting? Because maybe me and Mark can learn something.
Well, personally, I believe that an individual's right is to vote or not to vote. And when you have a third party collecting or chasing ballots and pressuring them to submit a vote that they don't even believe in, just to meet some third party's quota so they can get more money, you can't say they're not being bullied on that. So I believe in that. It opens the door to manipulation and pressure. Everyone on this call knows that vote by mail cannot be trusted. When we break the chain of custody in our ballots, we are losing. There is no tracing. When that ballot leaves and it's put into a mailbox, there is no way of tracing that ballot to make sure that chain of custody is not broken. So that is
the signature has to match.
Are you telling me that you don't think vote by mail it has any fraudulent votes coming in?
No, I told you I think it does, but they're going to continue to do it, and people with your point of view are making it so that we'll continue to lose because we won't engage in the activity that will enable us to win elections. But we'll be more moral. We can say we're more moral than the Democrats. We just lose.
I personally believe God will never bless something that is not moral. I believe that to the bone of. There's no way someone can convince me differently. And I would never do something that just because the ends justify the means it says something we should do. We know that breaking the chain of custody breaks our ballot. It breaks the trust that people have in our voting. People don't trust our voting systems. That's why they're not voting. So by expanding on a voting system that we know breaks the chain of custody, and we know through all the evidence that has come out that these vote by mails are 100% used to manipulate the vote, and the tabulators, when they start dropping them in at the end of the night with these machines, we know that they're being manipulated. We cannot out-cheat the Democrats. We cannot out-cheat the Democrats. We cannot do it unless we want to become and just cheat like them. And if
no, you never heard me say ever that we should cheat, ever. I never said that. There's legal ballot harvesting, and I know you don't like it, but it's legal.
See, that's what's so frustrating. He's allowed to interrupt me, but I'm not allowed to interrupt him. But what I am saying is when we break that chain of custody, we lose the moral high ground. We cannot come back later and say, these votes are invalid when we are pushing to use the same thing. That's why I call it immoral. It's because we lose that. And people have the right to vote and not to vote. And we have to rebuild our political system. We have to rebuild the Republican Party. And by just keep working around and all those resources, we could have had this done by now. But the Illinois Republican Party has worked nothing but against us in filling these precinct vacancies because they don't want them filled. And for Mark to sit here and say, well, we have to do this because it hasn't been filled, when he admitted his own precinct committeeman seat is not filled. That's why we're losing. It's because we are not doing the hard work. We want the easy work. We want to take the pill and make sure that we lose all the weight. That's just the way the Americans have become. We've got to do the hard work, and God will not bless us if we try to cheat. And cheating is vote by mail. We've got to get rid of the vote by mail. And by my personal belief is by participating in it, we are putting our stamp of approval on it.
I'd love to talk to you about the Bible someday, but not on this. But
I think this is a topic that we could go on forever. In my opinion, we're talking about something that's legal versus moral, right? And there's two sides of the discussion, and literally we could go on all day, all night for it, right? Yeah. So you told us your perspective, Mark. Carla, you told us your perspective on it. Tasi, I hope you got an answer from why Carla thinks it's immoral, okay? If not, you connect with her and get more of her take on it, okay? But I wanted to wrap this space up. We've been going for over 2 hours now, right? Stephen, I know you were trying to say something. If you wanted to add something to this, or if you also wanted to just quickly mention, the news that just came up regarding the university.
I can do both real quick.
Yeah, sure, go for it. Thanks.
When I came here, I was expecting a discussion of policy, and we've been talking about this kind of inside baseball stuff for about 2 hours. The things that are going to bring voters to the table, the things that are going to convince people, that are going to build coalitions, that are going to bring fundraisers is policy. And sniping at each other in a public space like this is counterproductive. And, I believe that if you're going to run for office, that you should lead, short, statements of policy positions, how you're going to improve people's lives. This conversation should have not taken this tack, and it should have at most been 5 minutes. We've got to make sure that we stay committed to the mission, to our candidates, to the parties. We can have these internal fights and whatnot, but if we get baited into these type of conversations, and people are a lot more friendly here than they're going to be in congressional forums or debates and other things like that. We have to avoid getting baited into these type of conversations and stay on, remember our purpose. So that being said, for those of you following my lawsuit, we still haven't heard from the lawsuit, but we did have a major concession by the University of Illinois Chicago and UIC just the other day that they have decided to end racial discriminatory practices in the awarding of student financial aid and for hiring across the entire University of Illinois system. I don't know anything beyond that. They haven't reached out to us. I'll let you wanted to add on both those points. Thank you to the candidates for coming here, but I do want to make sure that something like this does not happen again.
Oh, he wants to make sure that something like that doesn't happen again, huh? Well, just happened. What does he think? He's the